Hello, World of Tanks Blitzers, it's a Littlefinger. Hey, gonna be reviewing the updated tutorial that was changed as part of update 7.9. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and help me continue to grow. Yes, so this is the intro if you are a new player. This is the opening screen that you get. This is the mines map, and you get confronted straight away with 3 tanks. Sherman Easy 8, the Tiger 1, and the T-34-85. Interestingly enough, in the game, the Tiger 1 is a tier 7 tank. There's 10 tiers in this game, and the T-34-85 and the Easy 8 are tier 6 tanks. So having that prior knowledge, I'm going to choose the Tiger 1 to go into this first battle here. This is the mines map. And keep in mind, this video, and I'm expecting some of my regulars to watch this video too, this is the first ever encounter you have had with this game. You have been on this game for maybe 2 or 3 minutes here. So yeah, I'm playing this on the PC. I don't normally play on PC, I play on tablet, but I record all of my games on PC. And so you've seen it's given you the WASD for your driving controls and your left mouse for firing. So far it really hasn't discussed any tactics, nor will it discuss any tactics. It doesn't, you know, I have a problem with aiming on the PC for sure, and it hasn't told me yet how to zoom in. Alright, so now we can use the shift key to zoom in. Now it is showing us the highlighted armor parts, so we can't pen in the red. So everything you would think, and quite honestly, this is about as detailed as the entire tutorial gets, which leads me to believe that Wargaming just thinks that this game is drive and shoot. And it's far from that, guys, and that's why there's so many successful YouTube channels, because people realize that you know, they want to get better at the game. There's so many things you can do, such as angling your tank, hiding behind hard cover, getting hull down. None of that is addressed still in this training session, this tutorial. So don't expect the player base to magically improve now that they've been through this new tutorial. And you can see I am just playing bots at this point in time. They can't aim, they can't pen, and almost like in the real game, every one of these training sessions is going to be lopsided. So imagine that, guys. That is your first interaction with driving and shooting a tank in this game. I actually felt like the original tutorial, which had you drive to a spot so you could focus just on driving, then you drove to another spot, and then you just had one tank to focus on, was better, to be honest with you. Then jumping straight into a battle on your first game, you know, I feel like this might scare a few people off. I'm not sure. So we have to complete 3 battles now. So I switched over to the Sherman Easy 8, and not realizing that they've cut down the size of the maps. You know, I want to get to the opening of the cave. Oh nope, this is a much smaller map. Let's go the only way we can around the mine hill here. Excuse me. So yeah, back to what I was saying before. I felt like the original video tutorial did a little bit better job of preparing you on how to drive up front without the worry of being shot by other tanks straight away. And that was kind of a rush straight into battle, I felt. But you know, having these 3 games, realistic battles, you are realizing, you know, what this game's about a lot faster, which potentially, I guess, could keep people more interested a little bit longer. But it's hard to tell if you're alone here, or if you've got other people going through the tutorial with you. My guess is that all of these tanks, both on my team and the enemy team, are bots. You know, they're just programmed to go to a certain area and potentially shoot at a tank if it's in their line of sight. It would be great to have confirmation on that, though. I don't know if Wargaming has said anything about that. It kind of seems like I'm in the way of this comet behind me, and he wants to be in my spot. And with these two, well, with this KV-2 coming around, it never even looks at me, never even shoots. So, which, you know, certainly points out the fact that these are all bots. So here we are, second battle in. They haven't talked about consumables. They haven't talked about different types of armor. I mean, ammo. And like I said in the beginning, obviously there's no discussion about tactics, or we haven't even got to they haven't even told us that different tanks do different things, right? It's not until we buy our second tank that they talk about the tech tree, and there being different types of tanks, and we'll get to that here in a second. So nice. I like the graphics. I think this is all very well put together. So we've won our second battle, and now we're gonna have to win our third battle. Didn't really want to deal with the T-34-85, so we'll go back to the Tiger. And they're showing this as in blue, as though it's a collector tank, which may be why they're saying it's tier 6. When maybe they've changed the statistics on it. But you know, so if you're new to the game, you don't even at this point in time have a full grasp of tanks having different penetration values, different damage values. None of that has been discussed. It's all, as I said before, been drive and shoot, and that's all it's been here. I'm assuming that Easy 8, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's a new player, maybe that's a bot. I'm not sure exactly at this point in time. But we definitely have some tanks behind me. Looking at the mini-map, they haven't even discussed the mini-map. They haven't discussed the different symbols of the different tank types. You know, the light tank, the TD, medium and heavy. And again, you know, it's just another lopsided victory on our part here. As an experienced player, you can see what I am doing different than all of the other tanks is staying behind the hill, which gives the opposing team less area to shoot at, obviously. And then I am angling the tank depending upon who's going to be shooting me next, so that I can maximize my armor. Really hasn't been discussed, only showed you some areas where there's red and not red. So there's so many things that could be improved on this training. It's actually very disappointing to think that this is Wargaming's answer to improved training, quite honestly. With the quality of some of the production videos that they put out for different events and new tanks, Yeah, this has been a little bit disappointing for me, for sure. So there we go. We get our third victory, and that's going to complete our quote-unquote little mission here to play our first 3 battles in Tier 6 tanks. So now those tanks disappear, and obviously they'll be in the tech tree for you to research and purchase later in the game. 400 tanks in the garage. Yep, a lot of possibilities, a lot of tanks to play, and then it goes straight into picking a nation, picking your first tank, and it doesn't even tell you what each nation is good and bad at. That's something that I've focused, have several videos out, because these countries do have different types of play styles. The American tanks are just well-rounded, good tanks. The German tanks have accurate guns with a decent armor. The Soviet tanks have great armor and just high damage, poor accuracy guns. And so we pick our first tank and go into the spring garage here, which is outside. Normally it's inside. And it shows you how to upgrade your turret and your gun, and briefly talks about combat experience points, but it doesn't explain how you get combat experience points, and it starts throwing gold at you already. And quite honestly, it's a little bit confusing if I were in the shoes of a new player. So we don't even have a choice here on the training. We just have to roll straight into battle on the first tank. We can't even explore the garage or all of the amenities that come in the garage. So off to battle we go here. Playing on PC, it hasn't even told me how to auto aim yet. And quite honestly, I don't know if it ever does. And here we go again with, just tanks driving out into the middle. Assuming again that we've got many bots. And you can see they're showing you their butts. But again, this might be first battles for these guys, and they just don't know what they're doing, because the original 3 games that we just played gave you no instruction on angling, on placement, on side scraping, on being hauled down. All of these tactics that we learn to make ourselves better tank players, it wasn't even touched on in that training. And I don't know, maybe that would be overload. Maybe that would be too much for people to try to take in and learn how to drive and shoot. I'm typically a pessimist, but I'm optimistic on the fact that people can learn strategy and driving and shooting all at the same time. And I was getting a little like, is this just all bots again mentality? Until the next game, I think it might be the next game, we actually had a fairly close game, so the bots were evenly matched, I guess. And I'm not a big fan of what Wargaming did. For those new to the channel, they had a huge update on 5.5 and took out a lot of the lower tier tanks and made their guns very similar in style. Took out all of the high damage guns, make them all low damage guns. So that is the typical play style you're going to see at tier 1, 2, 3. In that, yeah, it just takes a lot of shots to kill a tank, because you're doing very minor amounts of damage. As you work your way up to the higher tiers, you've can have tanks with 2 to 3,000 hit points. You can see here at the bottom of the screen, 310. It hasn't even told you that that's how many hit points you have on your tank. But at tier 10, you have tanks that can do 1,200, 1,600 damage. I mean, that's, you know, just one tank. Most tanks do 2 to 300 damage. So you can see that, you know, in 2-3 shots, you can be killed, which you don't realize that at this tier 1, tier 2, because they've completely balanced all of these tanks. There we go. We get the first notification there of what that light bulb means, that we are spotted. Hasn't even told you that your camo rating or how to put camo on tanks, or that you get better camo rating if you're hiding behind a bush like I am doing, or stationary versus moving camo ratings. You know, there's so many more things to this game that haven't even been touched on yet. So it was not this game that was the close one. It must be the next one. But you know, I guess it's going to continue to be up to the YouTube community to teach these different tactics and try to improve the player base. But you know, if you're new to the game, and I alluded to it earlier about the update 5.5, what that did was it made it much easier for players to get up the tech trees, get to higher tier tanks faster, because they took a lot of the lower tier tanks out of the tech tree and streamlined it. So there was less tanks for you to have to research and purchase. But what that does is it gets you to higher tiers without having learned all of these tactics that I'm talking about that aren't addressed in what I was hoping would be addressed in this new tutorial. So we're getting a lot of lopsided battles, being 7-on-7. Once 1 or 2 tanks are taken out early, and you see here, you can't even look at your details yet. For the battle, it's just hit the home, and we've got to upgrade again, and then we can go back into battle again. So really not giving you so far any choice other than to have played 6 consecutive battles here. And now I'm assuming that we've got one other person that's got a colored avatar next to their name, so I'm assuming that that person is also a new player, quote unquote, like me at this point in time. So yeah, so update 5.5 is, you're gonna hear a lot of people complained about that. Basically, one of the issues that they had tried to address was that there were 3 or 4 tanks, primarily at tier 4, that people, what we call it, seal clubbed in, which, you know, you would go out there, you'd pick this overpowered tank. I'm thinking A20, the Hetzer primary candidates for those 2 tanks, and you would just destroy the new players, because the new players didn't know what they were doing, and you were in a tank that was most likely better than theirs to begin with. And so seal clubbing was what Wargaming was really trying to address in the update 5.5, and they effectively took care of that. Like I said, they took all of the good guns away from the overpowered tanks and made tiers, in my opinion, 1 through 4 very one-dimensional. You're going to have battles like this where it's, you know, you just have a lot of shooting, and the battles actually last a little bit longer than the upper tier battles. But anyway, you know, you can see every once in a while we'll get a little pop-up like that that show you, you know, you can't pen that area because it's red. But outside of that, the tutorial has been point and shoot only. Yeah, that guy was pushing me down the hill there, so I had to figure out how to get away from him. But as you can see, another lopsided battle. So 6 battles in, all of them have been lopsided. You still can't access any of the details from the battle. And here we are, it's making us research a tier 2 tank. And so we're just pushing the buttons that it's telling us to push, really. And I don't know if it's giving us enough explanation as to why. You know, what's a consumable? It hasn't even talked about a consumable yet. What does that do? So here we are, first battle in the PZ35T. And I know anyone that has an underscore is typically a bot, especially if it has the 2015 or a year for the last 4 digits. So, I mean, you know, what are your guys' thoughts on this? If you were new to the game and this is your first interaction with the game, you see they're keeping it 5-on-5. They're reducing the size of the maps, which is good, I think. But, you know, again, not telling you anything about strategy, not telling you how to improve your armor profile, not telling you that having the high ground is always better than being on the low ground. You know, it's just one of those things, and I don't know. Again, not to beat the dead horse here, but I really felt like this training could have been so much better. I mean, even put a 10-second, a 30-second video in on top of everything, right? And say, you know, and show what does it look like when you're hull down? What does it look like when you're side scraping? Wargaming has such great production on things, and yet they just jump you straight into battle and expect you to learn everything on your own. And I really feel like that's a disservice to the new players. Yeah, so here we are. We're 20 minutes in. You know, I think we're on battle 7 or something. This is the first time we've actually been behind in tanks. One would think that you win every game at this rate. Now, it's the first time there, so 7th game in, that it's talked about consumables. So we're back up at tank. Now it's even. This tank I'm in just does not have good gun depression, and I can't aim worth crap on the PC. Still haven't figured out the auto aim yet, because I just don't play on PC. But I figured out the next game, and I'll show you how much of an advantage it is. If you use the right mouse click, for any of those newer players, it's center of mass on the target, which the good thing is that it allows you to be able to look away and you don't have to be aimed in like that. You can just center of mass it, but then sometimes center of mass is going to give you a shot that bounces, or if the tank goes over a hill or something and it's still locked on the center of mass, you're just going to shoot the hill. So now look at this. We finally get the team and the detailed and the awards on the top right corner there, so we can look a little bit into the breakdown here. So we can see our damage compared to the other team, which we haven't been able to see before. And it doesn't explain your damage or your experience, um, and how you use that to progress up these tech trees, right? And so now it's just gone straight into you've got to buy another tier 1 tank. Now we've got medium tanks feature better speed and performance. Heavy tanks, thick armor. Tank destroyers capable of dealing heavy damage with a single shot. And so here we're going to select the M2 Lite and purchase it. Really hasn't told us anything about the top right, the gold and the silver up there. It hasn't told us about the equipment. And so then we get this pop-up here. First time mission, you'll need to reclaim a stolen tank. So this is kind of neat. I like this idea. The T6E1. So if you play 14 battles within the first week of starting the tutorial here, you get the T6E1, which is a premium tank, and a premium tank earns more credits per battle, which you can see there. Alright, so now it's starting to get us into the store. We claimed the 1 day of premium time, which is what that is. And here's the store. There's how much premium time you have, gold, silver, and experience points. So this store is typically the same for everybody. You can buy, as a downside to the game, in my opinion, you can buy tier 8 and tier 10 tanks right now if you wanted to. With 3-4 battles under your belt, you can jump into a tier 8 battle and you're going to be completely lost. And the chat feature is going to be extremely harsh to you. And you're probably not going to enjoy that experience. So I really wish that Wargaming would taper your ability to purchase upper tier tanks. Maybe let you jump into tier 4 now. That's fine. After you get 500 battles under your belt, maybe tier 5, and so on, all the way up to tier 10. But to come in here as a player with that training that we've just seen and to jump into a tier 8 or tier 10 battle right now is kind of a disgrace, to be honest with you. So the new layout here, and I'll do a 7.9 update. And for the new players, one of the great things about Blitz is they are constantly upgrading the app, whether it be the layout, the look, the sounds, the maps, the tanks. This game is continually updated. We're in year 7, and this is the 9th update this year, which is the update 7.9. All right, they haven't even started to explain equipment yet, what this does. So I just wanted to go ahead and do some purchasing here and show you that the first level is unlocked. Once you purchase all of the top level there, the second level becomes unlocked and you can purchase those. But because this is a tier 1 tank, I'm not going to be keeping it. I don't want to spend all of my credits now on equipment for a tier 1 tank that I'm going to play once or twice and then move up to tier 2. Again, not a lot of explanation as to the garage, all of the different features there on the map. And again, we're on a smaller half of the map, 5-on-5 tanks, and we are all tier 1s. So again, I'm just going to stay at the back here. No point rolling up to the front and losing all your hit points early. This is, obviously a feature that I talk about in my reviews. So, got to get used to this new autoloader here. And there we go. We finally figured out how to turn on auto aim on PC. And as you can see here, I am looking straight forward, even though the tank is slightly to my right because I have the auto aim on. You can see the plus sign there. I lock onto this guy. Nope. What I was going to say was that plus sign goes over the hill when the tank does. So we're locked onto the cruiser there. A couple shots in. And we're just standing in the back of the map and no one's paying us any attention because they're all bots. With the auto aim, I can just unzoom, zoom out, and it stays on the center of mass of that tank, and I can shoot wherever I want. So huge, huge, huge advantage for PC players, in my opinion. Let's lock on to this next guy. Take him out. Again, they're all just focused on the tanks in the middle of the map, and I'm at the edge of the map, and no one's even shooting me. So, for the new players, the mini map is here on the lower left-hand corner. Since this is all tier 1s, they're all light tanks, which is the full-on diamond. The medium tanks have the same symbol but a line through it, and the heavy tanks have the same shape symbol but with 2 lines through it, and TDs are a triangle. So it allows you to identify your team and the spotted enemy team on the map. And it's very crucial. The mini-map is very crucial to being a better player. And so here we can see kind of how the breakdown of your credits are. And for whatever reason, I don't know why I guess tier 1 you don't have an ammo resupply. That would have been an expense that I would have had in that game. They're showing us here that we've got to research and upgrade the turret. And look at this, we can do both of them after that game. So we'll get the new gun and new turret. Only one ammo type at these lower tiers. When you get into the upper tiers, you'll have 2 or 3. One of them will be much more expensive to use. The other will be HE typically. So another thing that the tutorial didn't talk about, different ammo types, right? Critical to playing this game well, in my opinion. This is interesting. So this is my first experience here. We are up tiered. All of the tanks on this map are tier 2 except for me. So this is one of those things to get used to in the game. It used to, when I started 6+ years ago, that it was +2, -2, which meant that you could be up tiered by 2 levels, 2 tiers sometimes. So you might be in let's say a tier 4 at playing against tier 6 players. They have since changed that, and it's only a +1, -1. So you could either be top tier or bottom tier just by 1. Not very exciting games. I've got to tell you guys, if you're new to the game, these battles at the lower tiers are tedious, boring, very little strategy. You're just going to run into these guys that come out in the open. They have no ability to use any defensive tactics. You just run around and shoot, and that's unfair to the game to say that is what it is. I do think it's a little bit more than that if you want to be a competitive player. So we're locked onto this BT-7 who's just sitting here getting shot. The great thing I love about the game is some of the historical accuracy. A lot of these World War I, World War II tanks are in the game. And yes, there is a fantasy side to Blitz, as well as far as some of the cartoon type tanks, tanks that they make up. like a Dracula, Helsing, Annihilator. So there's all kinds of different aspects to this game that are very good. This tutorial not being one of them. And it's a shame too, because I realized when I first started my YouTube channel that there was a gaping hole in tank reviews at the lower tiers, right? And there was YouTubers already doing upper tier tank reviews, and so I said, to myself, hey, I think that there's a market there for people to want to see lower tier tank reviews, and I was wrong. There's not. Um, but I do have a video on every tier 5 and under tank in the game prior to update 5.5. So I think that's kind of cool for being able to go back in time and see some of those older tanks before all of the changes in update 5.5. So again, you can see here we were top damage even though we were bottom tier. 17 shots landed. Those are all the tanks we shot. Here's how our credits broke down with the premium time. We didn't get shot, so we didn't have to repair the tank. This finally goes into explaining a little bit of how your combat experience breaks down. You get free EXP on however you want to use it. Now this is important, guys. I do a store review every Friday, and this is a great deal for buying gold initially. Anytime you can get gold for over 350 gold per dollar, it's a good deal. This is 1,300 gold per dollar, 6,500 divided by $5. So if you do get to pop up and you think you're going to stick around in the game for a while, having 6,500 gold for $5 is a great deal. It'll allow you to buy a mid-range premium tank and some premium time and be able to what we call grind credits. There are several things in the game that they haven't discussed yet that will keep you coming back. One of those are those containers that I just opened. Another is having missions on a daily basis. But there's so much more to the game, and I really felt that this tutorial was lacking in a big way. So again, interesting information for those of my older subs that have been around a while to see that don't expect anything to change from this. And to those that are new to Blitz, I'm going to try to work on some videos that'll help you get better faster. So stick around, hit the subscribe button, and we'll get those out and hopefully get you on your way to winning more battles faster. So with that, guys, have fun out there, and of course, get educated, not fingered. Littlefinger out.